I'm John French. I'm a writer for the Black Library. I've written novels over the last 15 or so years for the Horus Heresy, the Siege of Terra, in Warhammer 40,000, Ahriman notably, and in Age of Sigmar, Cato Ezekiel, also known as the Hollow King. The Dropsite Massacre covers the massacre of 3 loyalist legions on Istvan V by Horus. It's one of the most famous incidents in the lore of the Horus Heresy, where a huge fleet of Space Marines is sent to Istvan, where the War Master is, to destroy him. But over half the fleet, is actually traitors. So when they drop onto the planet, behind the loyalists, coming in behind them, are a wave of supposed allies who are actually not their allies. They're their enemies, and they're going to slaughter them. It's amazing to come back to it, actually. I think this is one of those incidents which we really had to go back and tell. We had to go into more, because it is so pivotal. There are a few other incidents in the Heresy which have as much consequence for the rest of the story. Calth, Istvan III. This one, though, we've seen versions of before. We've seen aspects of it before, but we've never gone in depth through a different set of characters' eyes to see what it's really like from top to bottom, from all the decisions that were going into making it to what it was like behind a gun sight on the ground as it's actually happening, and that being the focus of the story. So going back and creating that was amazing. And it also let us, because we've now finished the story, it let us go back and look at what that incident means for the end of the story as well. So you get all of that resonance from Horus as we understand him at the end of the siege, coming back into our understanding of Horus as he was masterminding the massacre on Istvan V. In this story, we really wanted to do perspectives and characters that you haven't seen before. There have been parts of Istvan V shown in other great novels, but fresh perspectives was really what this story was all about, and finding those parts of the story which people have either not seen happen in a book, in narrative, or they haven't had a certain perspective on. So, for example, what's it like being just a salamander line legionary, dropping into a war which a matter of months ago you didn't even know was happening, that you don't have the big oversight of the reasons why. In fact, the reasons why are one of the most terrifying things. How has this happened? And yet you've got to go into this situation and suddenly start killing warriors that are not only your equals, but months ago were literally your brothers. So what's that like? That's the kind of different perspective we're bringing to this. Also, though, what was it like from the command point of view of both forces? So what was Ferrus Manus thinking? Why did he do what he did in the way that he did? What was Horus thinking? Why did he decide to do this? Did he understand the weight of what he was doing beyond just the need of it to make his rebellion successful? So those kind of perspectives are really what we wanted this book to be. Certainly, I think seeing Horus at the end of the siege and then going back to him now, yeah, he does feel like a different character. He's an earlier Horus. He has turned to chaos. He is a rebel, but he still has a certain idealism about him. He has reasons. You can understand him. He frames what he's doing in terms of the survival of the Legion, the lies told by the Emperor, the betrayal to the legions that he thinks are the most important thing in the Imperium. It's much more understandable at the same time as being very monstrous. To tell this story, it's a really big story. It was quite complicated to tell. So the way I decided to go about that was that we'd follow a few characters, basically their point of view through from the beginning of the story, wherever they entered it, through to the end, or where they ended. So, yeah, we follow a a select group of characters through from beginning to end. So everything from them, for example, finding out that the drop site massacre is taking place, through to them escaping Istvan 5 or not. This is an enclosed story, so it covers the drop site massacre from the moment when the Emperor issues the order to go and confront Horus in Istvan, through to the point where there is very little other than dead people on Istvan 5 and the traitors. It stands alone as a story, it completes as a story, and yeah, the aim was that it would be this great, really immersive encapsulation of the events of Istvan 5. I think going back to it, certainly having reached the end of the siege, it meant that we could tell a much more nuanced story. Certain characters, for example, Khan, the Bloody as he is at this point, is a major character in the story. And our understanding of where he ends up and how he ends up across the whole story means that we can take a very different view to what he's like on Istvan 5. And the same is true of all of those other characters and their legions, is that, yeah, we can bring that perspective back in to tell a different story. Me, myself, coming away from the story, yeah, it was amazing to go back to. It was a very challenging book to write, a very demanding one, and so. But those kind of books are always the best to write in some ways, because you come away from it at the end going, that was quite a thing to do. I think also personally, it was amazing to go back and write it. So much has been written about it by so many great people over time. To go back and try and encapsulate it in a single narrative was difficult, but also it was amazing. All of the other things that have been written about Istvan 5, they sit alongside these. So if you were to turn the metaphorical camera around, you would see, for example, Argel Tal from the First Heretic. They're not the focus of this narrative. This is about other than different characters, but those other stories sit around this one as well. And this book forms a different core telling of the battle itself and how it came about, and then why it ends the way it does.